Hello and welcome to NSN Connect from National Skills Network, and we are continuing with our series Reigniting the Skilling Landscape in India, and today it's the 5th episode, which is to do with industrial training institutes. I hope you watched the 4th episode, which touched upon important aspects of improving ITIs in India, right from the image, the branding and the acceptance and making it attractive. Now in the 5th episode, we are going to take this discussion forward and look at how we can make ITIs aspirational in terms of showing multiple paths to the students to go ahead with their higher education, and also look at how industry can collaborate more actively and engage in many more innovative ways to make the technical training and education meaningful and relevant as the industry is dynamic and changing so fast. So let's continue our discussion with Rajesh AR, CEO, LaborNet, and understand few important aspects about how we can reignite the ITI landscape in India. Now I would like you to go back to the industry and look more at the digital disruption that's happening in the industry, the kind of new technologies that are coming in, and there are quite a few, I would say MSMEs also, in MSME clusters also there is technology adoption. I'm sure they are going in for investing in robotics or things where they want to reduce dependency on, human labor. Things like that are happening, and in such a scenario, don't you think the curriculum of ITI has to also change? I mean, we all know that they're still quite archaic, they're still quite outdated. So how do we make sure that the industry plays a role here?
So, and to give the benefit to the policymakers, they have introduced quite a bit of schemes, dual ITI, flexi MOUs, etc., where industry can demand or the industry can redesign the content or the learning part of it. But what I see from an industry perspective is they look at it as a complete short term. And it becomes not a strategic intent, it becomes just a transactional intent to change, give some feedback around it. If companies can adopt ITIs or companies can set up ITIs based under their CSR, under their various things, their skilling centers, and then start looking at how, from if they are from an FMCG, if they are from a digital say marketing or whichever kind of streams, if those streams they are able to give content in a hybrid model, e-learning plus internship and other things, it will do wonders, because then they are also adding infrastructure at the ITI along with the digital kind of a thing. Then the students who pass out from there can go to the industries of that particular sector or a vertical. I think that is very, very important to merge again CSR to that is infrastructure to pedagogy to how do they bring in guest lecturers who's expert in those fields to convince the students or make them learn. Those are very important. Other than that, as an industry, it is also important to, I would not say use kids gloves kind of a thing, but because it's the first exposure of that particular student into the industry, can they treat them like a true intern or true apprentice? Put them only to the day shift in the first few months, give them little on a classroom orientation, make the soft landing better, give them little on housing. You immediately putting them to work is actually a proxy to contract labor, right? Or a manpower thing. So this mindset change, rather than looking at it as a checkbox, if they are consciously trying to invest in that particular student, in that particular ITI, in that particular society where you're bringing in like whatever elements which you spoke about, you will see quite a bit of a difference. So this question of pay parity or explaining to them as an apprentice you will get this or as an intern you will get this, then as this is the time which is going to take, will actually enable the industry to have less attrition among the students, which is what they keep telling. Why should I invest in training when these guys will leave in 2 to 3 months? but it has to work in tandem. Like industry has to take 2 steps forward, the parents and the students has to take 2 steps forward, and the ITI, where all these things are culminating, also needs to take 2 steps forward. Like for example, this is bringing into the conversation of the fourth pillar, which is the ITI itself, right?
Yeah.
How many of the industry is actually engaging with the principles of those ITIs? Talking about the strategic alignment possibility, or how many of the principles of ITIs is able to understand that language?
Yeah.
It means the capability building has to come from the principles of ITIs itself. Rather than looking at it as a bureaucracy element, how do they reach out to the industry? How do they figure it out at a strategic intent? What is possible? The trainers in an ITI, how do we bring them to what industry wants so that they are continuously updated in terms of new tools which is coming in, new machines which is coming in, new service lines which is being coming in? Because in turn, that trainer will be able to then counsel the students or train the students of what that industry requires.
Kind of issues they face at the ground level, not being paid well, or there are a lot of people who are only those who are in permanent service, I guess, get some benefits, but those who are on part-time kind of jobs and all. But besides the administrative things, constraints, even the core knowledge enhancement, like you said, the skill enhancement or the knowledge enhancement, how do we make sure that it is done smoothly? Because smoothly, and also everybody should get a chance. It's not just some ITIs in Orissa can send their trainers to Singapore for some training, or in Maharashtra they get an opportunity. No, I think it should also go to a place in Bihar or Uttar Pradesh or Tripura, or uniformly. Is there some way these trainers not only take pride, because we know most of the trainers, I believe, are ITI pass outs themselves. They do the CITS program and then they enroll themselves as instructors. So I don't think they really have the industry exposure. They might, it's like, in engineering colleges, most of the engineering students, when they don't get a job they want to, they become the professors themselves in that particular college. So they are very young, they are not exposed to the challenges of the world. I think the same thing happens here as well. So this is, I think, a very, very critical and threatening kind of a situation, because it might have different kind of repercussions later.
Absolutely. So trainers is the cog which connects industry to the student. I think we should, that is something which all of us acknowledge. Now, trainers themselves, to make themselves employable for the industry, needs to keep themselves updated. Okay. If the trainers are aligned to the industry, and that alignment can be in terms of where am I going to place these ITI students? You are trying to create a network of your students in connection with the employers. Like, for example, if somebody is going to join Cognizant as a data entry operator or as a call center executives, talking to those supervisors, talking to making them understand or trying to understand what are the changes out there itself is a learning.
Yeah.
And I am sure whether any of those companies there would not mind upgrading the skill sets of the particular trainer using the CSR money. What is the missing link is, where is the intent for the trainer to upgrade himself? Budgets can come from government, can come from CSR, can come from anything. But if the intent is exhibited, I feel things can be pulled on. Like, for example, recently I was in Assam and we run around a year, 6 months to 1 year program in auto service technician in one of our centers. Those trainers were talking about, they don't know much about BS4, the new changes which is happening in the auto kind of a thing. But because they knew somebody in Maruti's auto dealer and they connected with some other set of people, and they were ready to train or give an orientation on the new things in their own locality. Now, it didn't require money. It was more of an intent from the center manager or for the trainers to get themselves updated.
Yeah.
So it is critical that even a trainer views this as a career. More he upgrades himself, more he is becoming useful to himself and then to the students.
Yeah, you're right. Also, intent and initiative, I think the self-driven kind of thing, rather than looking at some kind of an external stimulus or incentive. But this with this, I notice what happens is only those who have a strong drive to do well in their careers and their lives would want to do few things. But like I was saying, this has to spread across a lot of all the ITIs or all the technical training institutions. So how do we do it? Not everybody would be equally driven, right, to perform
Absolutely.
well.
I think, see, we should not look at there is a standard rule. We should recognize these biases. We spoke about it in the early part of the conversation. There is going to be a regional bias, there is going to be a social bias, there is going to be a gender bias. And these things are structural, means it is going to take enough time, and there is not like one switch of a button and things will turn green, right? It is going to happen. It's going to be a gentle sunrise.
Yeah.
It is going to take its own time and energy to make this happen. But having said that, will you stop doing it because there is a bias of a region or a bias of a socio-economic or bias of a particular gender? I don't think we should stop waiting. Like the internal debates I keep hearing is why are women not there in auto service trade or any technical trade? Let's get that batches up. Let's get the critical quantity. Then we can go into the industry. But let the batches start. It's a supply-based thought process. Then I'm sure industry who is keen on diversity and other things, we can convince them to put up a women-only shift. We can convince them to set up maybe clean toilets, safe working conditions, because we have to look at it through multi-pronged approach, right? Yeah. Policy, gender, CSR, and then bring in the solution to the problem for increasing women participation into the workforce. I'm just digressing on one point, but I'm just trying to say, saying that these biases don't exist, or we should have a one solution for all these things to happen, I don't think is the approach, because of the diversified nature of our country, diversified nature, the economic activities which is happening in various regions, or because of the socio-economic cultures which we are all brought in.
Like I said, interacting with people, with students, with industry people. Few professions are attracting girls traditionally, which were very male oriented, including welding or electrician and many other things, which is a very positive sign. I think we have also featured quite a few stories like that on our website and YouTube. But one thing which you just told me is kind of, it just struck me. Couple of times I also heard about like when I ask these people, when these girls, when they get trained, do they get into a job easily? So it is like there is a supply of women who are equally trained, or maybe they do better than men in being electrician or plumber. But I believe there is a certain reservation still in the industry for taking women under in such roles, because you said the industry also has to wake up and be empathetic. Like you said, they can even start a shift for women. See, these are all very nice things. I really hope that people do these things in small ways so that it adds up later. At present, I think one step has to be taken in this direction.
I think women into the workforce, industrial workforce, or any kind of workforce is close to our hearts. I mean, at least at where we talk about. I'll give you some statistics. Out of around 13 lakh students which is there in ITIs, I don't think the women will be not more than 1 to 1.5 lakh, maybe less than 4 or 5%. And in the trades which is predominantly industrial trades, most of your engineering kind of a thing, this numbers will be further lower. Yeah. I'm sure in fashion, in beauty, in computer programming, I think those numbers will be 50-50, because there has been significant movement of women trades into it. So somewhere that part of taken. Now, this is where employers need to align. There are, like you mentioned about safe toilets or toilets and separate shifts and those kind of a thing. They also need to look at workplace behavior. In an engineering or in a manufacturing kind of a thing, the language we use, because it is male dominated kind of a thing. And also in terms of during the menstrual the cycle kind of a thing, where women needs to have more time or rest kind of a thing, how are supervisors going to view the entire thing? it how are supervisors going to engage women in if the shift is in a mixed environment? How will I make the women safe? Answers are there, because in across the country, a lot of places people have attempted. How do you put a women counselor into the shift? Okay, but if the intent is there from the industry and from the ITIs to have separate batches onto it, we can find solution. And it may not be like, oh, we are going to execute this at scale. No, let us get pockets of success. More pockets of success tells the policymakers, tells the industry, tells the students, tells the parents, saying that these are all possibilities. See, when a student finishes 10th and does this ITI, or that is when it goes into a dead end, or it was supposed to go into a dead end. Now, thanks to NIOS, there is a bridge course which a student can take, which creates an equivalence to 12th. And once a person does 12th, he or she can go into a graduation.
Right.
Okay. But all these equivalent story is actually is going to go in for a transformative change because of NEP, where it will become credit size. You don't have to take those kind of bridge courses. These credits, when a student works, itself can be converted, and you can then look at how to create a pathway for Bachelor of Vocational.
Yeah.
In the trade one is looking at. So I personally feel today avenues are there for various pathways to ensure a student can go up to degree or to a PhD and further up, and enhance his academic qualification along with skills, which gives him a social recognition along with the wage recognition.
Yeah, that's true. Let's hope that the credit system gets implemented in the way it should be, because I think that's one of the key measures, which is being taken, like you said, in NEP. And also it will change the perception, especially in a country like India, where everybody thought academics and workplace or work life is like a progression one after the other. We don't normally look at continuous learning as a reality or lifelong learning as a reality. So I think this is definitely going to be that kind of game changer, I would say, not only in terms of looking at the students, but also society in general. When it comes to ITIs, like Rajesh, you were explaining so many details about various aspects that need to be looked into right now. As we move on, with the introduction of new courses, particularly in the context of Industry 4.0 on the one side, and on the other side, the need for introducing more and more non-engineering or services type of courses in ITIs, because there is a huge demand for such courses. In between all these, there are few important points that came up during our discussion, and I'm sure our audience would really be wondering, hey, look, it's all good to speak and say, but how do we go back and really implement these things and try it out and see if they really give us the results we want to see? So if we have to look at it from this angle, Rajesh, what do you think are the 3 important action items that you think are relevant to the context of ITIs in India?
I think, like we spoke about, the first one is to make or rename the nomenclature of an ITI to a skill development center, or so that there is a reimagination of the courses and the aspiration linked to it. That just gives a signaling value to the set of audiences which we are looking for. Industry 4.0 is a reality, which means the interoperability for the curriculum, the work experience, and development of faculty. Industry has to embrace that ITI faculty needs to be trained at the industry level. At the same time, industry leaders need to go back to academia in a regular interval of time to understand various R&D research and the upcoming things which is happening in the industry. This relationship need to be more and more porous. And the third one is in terms of if once industry recognizes a particular skill or a certification from the academia, how do we create more and more skill premium, or what we call it as a wage premium, so that it encourages the student to take higher degrees of certification or skills, which then creates a much more productive workforce for our country. These will be my 3 key takeaways of the session.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Most of them, I think, are really important at this point, because me personally, I have, like I said, I have been looking into few aspects of ITIs, and I can see where you're coming from, and I'm sure our audience would want to reflect on these points. But like I was saying earlier, ITIs is in the it's in a phase where there is likely to be a transition. There is a need for rebranding, and many initiatives are also coming up around ITIs in India. So it would be good to look more deeper into it. And in case you have any questions or queries concerning ITIs, you want to know more about a few programs, in case you want to introduce new programs, perhaps you can visit our website or even get back to us, get in touch with us. And Rajesh also can help us perhaps with more info on ITIs. Thank you so much, Rajesh.
Thank you, Madhuri.
The 3 key action points shared by Rajesh are absolutely important and critical to go ahead and learn more about and explore how we can implement those if we have to improve the ITI system in India. The fact that most of these ITIs are not as attractive as they were earlier, and also the fact that technology is changing and there is a need to introduce so many new courses, and there's a lot to be done to make ITIs aspirational, is what we carry forward from the episodes 4 and 5 of Reigniting the Skilling Landscape in India. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for being a part of this series. And one request before I say goodbye. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to get the necessary notifications so that you don't miss it when we publish the videos. I invite you to be a part of the discussion. Please share your comments, your views and your observations so that we engage deeper and we come up with more implementable points that can really improve the ITIs in India and also reignite the skilling landscape by making it more strong, more sustainable and more impactful. Thank you so much. Goodbye. I look forward to be in touch with you.